So today we're going to be talking about polarity. So to know polarity, you're going to first need to know bonds are formed based on electronegativity. And that values from 0 to 0.3 equal nonpolar. 0.3 to 1.7 equal polar bond, and greater than 1.7 is an ionic bond. And now nonpolar bond is when electrons are shared equally. Polar bond is when electrons are not shared equally. An ionic bond is a total transfer of electrons. And it can, alright. So let me pull the chart up, and this is a chart of electronegativity values. I'm pretty sure you will not be provided this chart on the AP exam, so it's best not to rely on these numbers. Remember a few videos ago when we talked about electronegativity, and we said it increase as you go this way and decrease as you go down. So if it gives you something like F, which is 4.0 and the highest on the list, and it gives you something like Y is really down the list, which means it should have a really small electronegativity value, while F has the highest of all. So when you subtract these two, you know that it gotta be an ionic bond due to the fact that they're so far away. So this is what you have to remember. But for now, we're gonna use this chart. Alright. And the thing about polarity is that you always do big number minus small number. Alright, let's do an example of finding the polarity for H2O. Alright, so first we have to draw the Lewis structure with O in the middle and H on the side. 6, 7, 8 valence electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, this is how it looks like. Now, first let's find the bonding between H and O. H has a value of 2.1 and O has a value of 3.5. 3.5, the bigger number, minus 2.1 is equal to 1.4. 1.4 is in between the 0.3 and 1.7, so that we know these two are polar bond. And to show that it's polar, we're going to do this by drawing arrows. The arrow is going to point toward the higher electronegativity value. So it's going to look like this and this. Alright, so the arrows are always going to point toward the more electronegative element. And then you're going to write a plus on the ends of the less electronegative one. Alright, but here's the thing. The element doesn't always stay in that state. Sometimes it's going to be, most of the times, this one's going to be more electronegative. But sometimes it's not. So we're going to show that by drawing this. This one is partially positive and sometimes negative. So these signs just means partial. Partial negative and partial, oh, never mind. The more negative element will obviously be more negative. So these two will be partially positive, but sometimes it can be negative. And the oxygen will be partially negative, but sometimes it can be positive. And this hydrogen is just as the previous hydrogen. Now that we see here, these two are all polar bonds, and that means this one will be polar. This molecule is polar. H2O is polar. And now, when we write the explanation, why is it polar? We're going to say dipoles do not cancel. Now, what does that mean? A dipole is an unequal sharing of electrons. Alright, and whenever dipoles don't cancel out, that means the element is polar. We're going to talk about more rules and how to identify polar and nonpolar elements easier in the next video. Thank you for watching.